Our next guest is an Emmy-winning actor you know best from his portrayal of Logan Roy on Succession. His acting tutorials are available now on BBC Maestro. Please welcome back to the show our friend, Brian Cox.
To be here, as always.
This is, I won't spend too much time on it, but this is the first time I've seen you since the end of the fantastic show, Succession.
Yeah.
And it was a season, it ended so beautifully and nailed the landing. You had one of the great lines, and I think Logan had many over the years, which is he said to his children, "I love you, but you're not serious people."
Yeah.
That really sort of summed it all up, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was my favorite line that I had to say throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
I loved that line, and I just thought, why didn't I say it earlier?
Yeah, it's true. They certainly were pretty unserious.
They were damned unserious most of the time.
Did you? I do feel like we've given the world enough time to catch up, but are you surprised, or how do you think Logan would feel if you'd been around at the fact that Tom, in the end, won the Succession?
Yeah, but I think Logan had already planned that.
Yeah.
I think he'd already planned that, certainly the Skarsgård character, that it was all going to go that way, because he could see that those children were not going to add up to anything. So I think that, well, they didn't add up to anything, did they? They added up to zilch. Anyway, what I felt was that, I thought that Tom was very kind to him. At one point he had a UTI infection, and Tom actually helped him. So I think that, I think, well, you have to put up with my horrible daughter, so I've got to give something to reward you.
It was a bad lot. It was a bad lot. Everybody's reacting like, and it should know, these aren't Brian's real children. Again, for those who haven't seen, I apologize, but Logan left us. He passed away early in the season, I think, maybe earlier than people thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I had people saying, "Oh, no, I'm not going to watch it anymore. You've gone, I'm not going to watch it." I said, but it's called Succession.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the show. You have to have the succession.
Yeah. They kind of told you with the title where this is heading.
It does. But, people can be so dumb,
Yeah.
Come on, really get it right.
Of the three kids in the Where Are They Now, who do you think is doing the best in the fictional world?
In the fictional world, I think they're struggling in the fictional world.
Yeah.
I think they're doing very well in the real world, but I think Sarah's doing a fantastic job in London, and Jeremy, I think, is about to do a play here, I think, and I don't know what Kieran's up to, but he's probably up to something extraordinary. He usually is. So, yeah, I think they're all doing probably well. It was an extraordinary show to work on, because we did really become like a family, and we were very, very close, and it's very odd. Now, I kind of miss them,
I would imagine.
Yeah, you miss them, and because it was the most extraordinary 6 years, over 6 years the whole thing took place, and Jesse was just amazing. Jesse Armstrong, who wrote it, and the writers, the whole thing, the whole job. It's probably the best job I've ever had.
Well, it was certainly one of the best shows I've ever seen, and congratulations to all of you.
No, it was great. It was great.
So, BBC Maestro, this is fantastic as well. I've seen clips. It seems like a perfect fit for you. You were giving acting tutorials, teaching. You first started teaching acting when you were 24 years old.
Yeah.
How did that first come to pass?
Well, it happened. I was doing a play in London in the West End, and the guy, sadly, he's no longer with us. Mind you, it was 50 years ago, because not many people are with us. So anyway, he said, would you like to come and teach? And I said, Norman, he was called Norman Ayrton. I said, Norman, I'm only 24. He said, no, I think it's time that you did that. I think you've got a lot, you're fresh, you're new, and by then I was probably 9 years out of drama school. And I went, and I was very lucky, because in my first group that I had was Dame Harriet Walter.
Oh, my goodness. She's fantastic.
I know. She was one of my students.
So you played your ex-wife on
played my ex-wife in the show, which was kind of, we've worked together over the years. And then there was another wonderful actor who sadly died of AIDS, called Ian Charleston. Now, Ian was I don't know if you remember Chariots of Fire.
Sure, of course.
He played Eric Liddell. He played the runner.
Wow.
And he was a wonderful, wonderful actor and a great singer and did this amazing, they did this big revival of Guys and Dolls, and he played Sky Masterson. It was superb, but sadly. And he then went on to play Hamlet, which he didn't particularly want to do because he was very ill. And he wondered why he wasn't asked to do it in the first place. And I said, you know, that's the way it is, Ian. But he played it, and he literally played it up until 2 days before he died.
Unbelievable.
It was astonishing, absolutely astonishing.
And could you tell, I mean, in a class like that, obviously, I'm sure everyone has a level of talent, but can you always tell, that one's someone special?
You know, you can. And there are sleepers, you know, there are people who are going to take time, you know, but they have the right attitude. It's just that they've got to trust themselves. And it's all about trust. You know, it's trusting yourself more than anything else. That's what makes a good actor, is to trust who you are. And drama school is very good for that, finding that where you can learn that trust to yourself. That's why I believe in drama education. I think it's a great education, not just for drama, but for everything, for life, actually.
I also like that, not that you take it too seriously, or I guess you don't make it more complicated than it needs to be.
No.
And one of the clips I saw, you talked about how you had trouble with lines. Learning lines is a very tricky thing. But one of your advice for students was just learn lines and don't bump into the furniture.
Yeah.
That's kind of a nice one to know,
Yeah,
right?
well, that is the basic principle of acting.
Yeah.
Is do not,
Everything after that's just gravy.
It's all kind of, you know, it's all bollocks, really, after that. But don't bump into the furniture and learn your lines is what you're supposed to do.
But that learning lines did not come naturally to you.
No, I was not a good learner. I really, it's the discipline that I've had to, I mean, I'm about to do Long Day's Journey into Night.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
I'm going to be doing that in London in the new year, and I'm dreading it. Because I've got to go through the learning line process. And as you get older, the synapses are not quite working in the same way.
I know television is different, obviously, multiple takes than being on stage. But I would imagine with shows like Succession, with a show like Deadwood, where they're so beautifully written, but in a way that you haven't heard people speak before, so you might think it might be unnatural to learn. But does beautiful writing make the learning process easier?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because if there's an element, if there's a poetic element to the writing, you immediately go to that. And that's why Shakespeare is so great, because it's structured so wonderfully well. I mean, free prose is very hard to learn, because especially a lot that's interrupted, where you're doing interrupted lines, and it's not necessary. But free prose is difficult. But Shakespeare and anything that's got a poetic bent to it, it's helpful, you know.
It's just wonderful to have you teaching acting, and it's wonderful to have you here in person.
Lovely to be here.
Ryan Cox!